So welcome everybody. It's another Ask Me Anything session for the Cardano Budget Committee. This is our Thursday afternoon sessions that we like to run for people that can't make our earlier during the day sessions. So we appreciate all of you guys who could attend today. We have any questions you might have on the Cardano budget process, you are welcome to ask them here, and we will do our best to help you get through them. So welcome to the age of full governance on Cardano. Obviously, the Floman hard fork is completed. The new Constitution ratification process has begun. There's a new Constitution action on chain that DREPs are currently voting on, and we'll keep an eye on that over the next few weeks to see when it reaches its ratification threshold. And that is also, we are also kicking off Monday of next week, if all goes according to plan. We will kick off the net change limit info action, and we will release the budget details, the budget proposal in the forums, not on chain, but in the forums for discussion, while the net change limit is on chain, and that is going forward. So that's what's coming up. Expect that Monday of next week if things continue on track. If it doesn't, I'll have more information on Tuesday at our next AMA session if there's any delays in approval of getting that document out. It's the only real updates for right now, but I'm happy to take any questions that you guys might have. So please feel free to fire away with questions.
Thank you, Lloyd. A question I guess I have. First off, thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to connect and be able to gather some information about the community. One question I had was, I looked over the Constitution last night when it was released. It looks good. I'm proud of the direction that the community is going in. One of the questions I had, though, was what is the timeline that we're looking at? Is it similar to what occurred last year? And with that being said, where are we able to get updates about that? Is it just on the Catalyst Fund or the Catalyst Project app, or is there like other resources that we're able to use?
Okay, now that's a great question, and yeah, so the Catalyst app, that's specific to Project Catalyst, right? So this the information that you're looking for now, you can actually use any of the Cardano explorers. I typically use adastat.net. That's a really good Cardano explorer, but there are a couple of others as well. And they actually can show you look on the left-hand side and you'll see all of the different, pretty much all of the explorers are this way. Left-hand side has like the information of the different areas that they monitor in the blockchain explorer tool. One of them will be governance actions. And then you'll go there and it'll show you the current governance actions available for your use, for your monitoring. It does have the current action. It shows what percentage has said yes so far. It shows what percentage has actively voted no, and then lastly, what percentage has not voted yet. And that's what we're really tracking and we're looking for is the stuff that hasn't voted yet, that is effectively in an abstain state. It's still counted as a no vote. That's just a default mode for us. And that changes only when people choose to actually cast their vote. And so we'll be watching for the DREPs over the next up to 6 epochs. We'll be watching as the DREPs cast their votes, yes or no, for the Constitution, and also for the net change limit info action. When we post that one next week, we'll be able to monitor both of those right from the explorers.
Wonderful. Okay. Another question that I had is that putting a proposal together, right? Well, I guess the question I have is, does it fit with the Catalyst agenda, or the Cardano ecosystem to be able to host events um, that are geared towards Cardano's ecosystem, as well as doing like a collaboration between like two or three different platforms and just kind of finding initiatives, I guess, that all are in common, and then gearing the event towards bringing in attendees, the developers, uh, policymakers who all have this like agenda, I guess you would say, of increasing sustainability, scalability, and community focus driven ecosystems on the blockchain network.
All right. So another great question. And for that one, I think so part of that is I would look at the newly forming marketing committee, because that committee is forming up. We do have a bucket in the budget this year called outreach, and that bucket it'll have a couple of different committees that will be responsible for portions of it. One of which is the membership and community committee that's responsible for our hubs, which is an obvious big outreach component of how Cardano is going to operate. And then beyond that, the other bucket, the other group is the marketing committee. Now they're forming up right now. There is some proposals there. Some of those proposals sound very much like what you're talking about. Yet the important part to know about a budget process, we're setting the goals right now, not who's going to do the work. So there will be opportunities for tendering bids against that work once the budget is approved. So that's the step we're in right now, is kind of setting up the buckets, the bigger mandates of what should we spend money on, not quite down to the detail of what particular event or what particular group should host an event or whatever have you. But there's definitely the idea of events and gatherings in that marketing working group.
Where can I find the marketing committee in outreach?
The marketing committee right now, so it's still under the marketing working group, and you can definitely participate there. Terrence here actually knows quite a bit on where that's at, and I think they're in the process of getting their charter, their terms of reference approved right now. So once that's approved, there will be opportunities to volunteer, and there will also be opportunities to go up for a seat on that committee in April, because that's our next elections is in April, and that committee will have seats up for election in April.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for coming. Tex, go ahead, bud.
Sorry, I was just going to call out to just on the previous note before we get too far away. If you're getting lost on governance actions at all, or if you want to stay up to date, there is a governance actions channel in the announcements section of the Intersect Discord that does directly linked to a Twitter post or an X post rather, that does update every time a new governance action is presented. So just another way you can find it if you find yourself having a hard time scraping X. And then, yes, I would echo everything that Lloyd said. As far as the marketing working group, that haven't had a ton of activity aside from in the background to help establish the marketing committee. More info should be following on that based upon the final reviews and stuff and approvals. There may be a few quiet meetings, so there may not be direct participation right away, like within the next 2 weeks kind of thing. But definitely stay tuned, as the Discord channels will be updated with a section for the marketing committee when that comes around. The marketing committee will get their own Discord page, and the working group will fall under that, and other working groups are likely to open under that as well to help make sure that those processes are built out correctly. And I guess more specific to the question there for Elijah is that with the operations team on the back end there, there'll be different RFPs or requests for proposals that go up once the budget is here, right? Once we have the funds from the treasury, and that's when you'll be able to kind of, if you have your proposals, not a bad idea to draft them now, but you'll be able to curate those to those RFPs in the future down the road here. So
Yeah, and the future being, again, if everything, and there was a question on timeline, and I can kind of go to that one right now. It's actually a really great segue for that. Timeline wise, the Constitution ratification can take anywhere up to 6 weeks or 6 epochs. Sorry, up to 6 epochs, about 30 days to 40 days. Right in that range. There's 30 days for 6 epochs, so a full month. And then because we did finally get it on chain today, so 30 days from today, that action will have gone one way or another. It will either have been approved or not. During that same time frame, we're going to start on Monday with the net change limit info action. So again, 30 days out from that, that one has to take all 30 days because it's an info action. So at the end of 30 days, we will know what the DREPs voted on, yes or no on that. And if we have a ratification, if we have 65% approval at the end of 30 days, well, then that's it. We have a net change limit. And then we can immediately begin the budget info actions. So that's another 30 days of time that we have to wait because they're info actions for the budget to complete. So time's ticking here, right? So really about 2-ish months from now, just slightly over that. So really end of March, beginning of April, if everything goes smoothly and if the DREPs approve the budgets and the DREPs approve the net change limit, then we have a Cardano budget and we're able to start treasury withdrawals. And those actions can go as fast as they're ratified. So if a treasury withdrawal action could happen in one epoch if enough people vote yes on it right away. And then the money's in the bank, and the working groups and committees that are related to that particular withdrawal can start their RFP process, and they can start getting work approved right away after that. So, April timeframe is a good bet, May at the latest, kind of to get everything kind of up and functional. And that's why, and then again, April, we have these elections happening for Intersect. So that will also be a part of this, is that the committees will have their additional elections that occur here in April.
Perfect. Thank you. That was thorough answers. I feel like I got all the information that was needed that I was having questions about. Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad to be here and glad to get to be able to answer the questions. And welcome, Joe. I see you came in.
Hi.
Hey, Joe.
Ah.
How can we help you?
How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I think we had a good GM 2025 last weekend. It was really nice to see some of the community come to Fort Myers and hang out with us for a bit. So that was really neat. Really glad we were able to do that. We're getting ready to go into the full court press here, because any day now we're going to have these actions out in front of people so they can start looking at them. Like, obviously, Constitution went out today. And then I was just telling everybody else that on Monday, if everything continues according to plan, on Monday we will release the net change limit and the budgets. That's subject to the final approvals from the committee, and they're looking deeply at everything, trying to see. They're saying there's not enough information in some places, and they're asking for more. So we are trying to get that over the line, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, we will be, when we've got that approval, when we've got the budget committee comfortable that they have all the information they need, we'll have it all out there and ready to go for people to be able to not only look at, but look into the proposals and make changes on them for 6 weeks while the net change limit's going on. So that's the thing I've got to stress the most. These are not the info actions for the budget, just the info action for the net change limit. And the budgets will be in the forums, and we're going to be having conversations about the budgets for 6 weeks, six epochs, 30 days.
Awesome. Brilliant. That's the information I wanted. Thank you.
Look at that.
been looking for budgets and looking for where the information is. Have found a few spreadsheets in various different places, but haven't found anything comprehensive that gives me an overview of all of it. And I was really interested to hear Colour and the guys from Rare Evo talk about a new committee that is forming up, which is, you know, cool. Had a brief opportunity to speak to Colour at the convention, but around events and what that might look like. So want to see how that's fitting in, because I couldn't find any information about that. So yeah, it'll all be in this release, Lloyd, then.
Yeah, and that's, you know, we were just talking about that a couple minutes ago here as well, but I don't mind catching you up as well, is that, you know, the Marketing and Growth Committee is in the process of finishing its formation right now. They are doing it. Tex here has been working with that committee to stand up and get them operational. It's going to combine elements of the marketing working group that we had before. It's going to combine elements of what Rare Evo brought forward with that events council idea. And then there are members of CF, Emergo, and IO that are all willing to bring marketing people in. Jack Briggs is going to be the secretary of the committee to get it going. So, and he's Intersect marketing and communications person. So it looks like the whole community is bringing to bear good representation from every angle to be a part of that committee, and it will have seats up for election in April. So there will be public open seats in April.
Right.
Yes.
So is that a replacement or is that an addition?
It's an addition. We're building a bigger table.
Excellent. Pleased to hear it. Good.
Yeah, it's always my favorite. I don't want to replace. I always want to make a bigger table, make more room for more.
Sounds good. Sounds awesome. Nice one. Thank you. That's apart from my question, which we talked about in the last opportunity I had to talk to you when you had a space at a good time for us, which is government projects, government, municipal, local, regional, national government projects, which need a different kind of support. But I think it's a vertical that could maybe work in that new committee potentially.
I think it can. There was some discussion in that committee where they were talking about the idea of industry specific and vertical type engagements, where that would, and where and how that would make sense. So there is at least some talk there. So it definitely is a good place to talk to and be a part of in the whenever it's open for formation here. Oh, it shouldn't be too long, but April is, my guess is really when it'll come more open because of everything that's going on. I think it's going to take until then to really get its legs under it.
Oh, okay. So where will the budget discussions about that happen if the actual working committee and working group is not going to be available till April? That seems like,
right.
Well, timing.
They're standing up now. They're trying with the volunteers, and then April is when they're going to have their election to bring in community members that want to be on it. So I think between now and then you can definitely have conversations, and you definitely can be reaching out to the people that are going to stand up in the initial part of the committee. I think but I think that the biggest impact will be in April timeframe. But if the budgets themselves, if they can get it together in the next few days here, which we're hopeful for, then they will have a budget in there, and it will be in the forums with all the others to discuss. Right,
cool. So that's how I would find the people to reach out to in that area.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. That's great.
If you get lost, Joe, you can connect with me on Discord. You can send me a DM or anything like that. Really, that'll move over to Jack, but just offering that out there for now, because even when I step away from supporting that group, I'll still know about it. But yeah, I mean, just as far as the details, I'm trying to work with that team now. As Lloyd was saying, I'm trying to help them get at least an MVP out there, just a minimum viable product so they can do something this year. And that bootstrap will kind of really draft out what a strategy looks like for hopefully the elected committee members to agree to or establish. That way 2026 looks quite a bit brighter. So
that sounds awesome, because there are a lot of people in the community that have been running events, who've been running hubs for in some cases, just saying a decade or more, bringing communities together. So have some experience to contribute, particularly at the local level. But also, as I say, yeah, there's another strand which is about these verticals that touch on different parts of different sectors that need kind of deep relationships in order to pursue opportunities in those particular sectors, like government, right? Like people need to know who you are, and you need to have worked with them before, and then you can introduce Cardano. Terence, how would I find you on Discord? What's your handle, huh?
Tex Oso. So Tex OSO.
Beautiful. All one word. I will send you a DM.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, I'll bring it up now. It's something that we're at least contemplating, is the idea that as the year goes on, there will be other things that will come up and that can be put in. So we're getting these MVPs over the line, but there's a tooling working group that we're starting to work with that will not be ready when the budget is ready. It's going to take some more time to get them over the line. Things like that can be in a supplemental budget later in the year if the appetite is there to do it. So that's another thing. I think I've noticed a little, anxiety of, oh my gosh, if we don't do it right now, we'll never get in, kind of thing. And I don't believe that's the case at all. I believe the idea of supplemental budgets, I believe the idea of budget addendums will all be a real possibility and will happen as the year goes on. So to keep the anxiety there to a minimum, that it's not an all or nothing thing where all is lost if we don't have it in a budget right now. So see, we have an iPhone user with your hand up. I don't know who's behind the iPhone, but welcome. If you don't mind identifying yourself, we'd appreciate it. And welcome, and go ahead with your question.
Yep. My name is Philip DeSero, CEO Anastasia Labs. About the supplemental budget stuff, would this be a separate budget, in the same year, or would this be added, like supplemental as in the governance proposal would be to add it to an existing budget and increase the allocation of the existing budget?
It could be an either or. These are both a possibility. The Constitution doesn't specify on this. It allows us the freedom to determine what that's going to look like. And it's always up to the DREPs for approval, right? So if a proposal, like I said, this tooling working group that's trying to get some tooling together and have a budget for that, for supporting that during the year, if that comes later in the year, it can be a supplemental budget as long as it falls within the net change limit and we don't go over the net change limit. Then that's where an additional or supplemental or whatever, it could be an entirely different budget could come from. Just like the delegates were pretty clear they wanted multiple budgets, so they have them. And so now the possibility exists that you could not only add on to an existing budget and say to the DREPs, we'd like to modify our budget in this way. That could come from, hey, we've got extra money because the price of ADA went up, or we don't have extra money because the price of ADA went down and more money will be needed to cover the costs. Those are both possibilities that could be addressed with a supplemental budget action. So, there's opportunities throughout there to adjust as needed whenever we're in front of it. Is that helpful, Phil? Did I get a little closer?
Yeah, that's perfect. Great to hear.
Lloyd, just to follow up, there was a question in the chat here. I know you're juggling a few things. Looks like it came from Tom about the platform where the budget discussion will take place. And I believe you said that was going to be on the net change limit info action, right?
Right. So yeah, once the net change limit goes into as an info action, then there will be we're going to have Cardano Forum. We'll use the Cardano Forum, and we're going to post all of the budget proposals in the Cardano Forum. And then also, as we get closer to completing the net change limit, we will actually propose the actual info actions for the 5 budget buckets in GovTool. and take feedback there before converting them to an actual info action. So it's going to kind of be a multi-step process, but we're going to start first with the Cardano forum. And once it's on Cardano forum, man, we're going to put that everywhere. We're going to put it on X. We're going to put it on LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it, everywhere we can to get as much reach as we can to get people to come to the Cardano forum to discuss the budget. And then we're also going to do AMA sessions like these to have people come with questions, and that'll help us adapt as well. And then as we get near that finish line, when the net change limit's going over and is being ratified, then at that point, there will be 5 different info action proposals in GovTool, and those will convert to info actions at that point, once we have a ratified net change limit.
My lawnmower man is here at the moment, so I don't know whether you can hear me. Okay.
Oh yeah, I
Can
hear
you
you
hear me?
just fine, Joe. Yeah, I hear you fine, Joe. I did see a question from Tommy, said 5. I heard 7 before. So we had 7 committees, but we have 5 bucket budgets, and we've always had 5 bucket budgets. So this is core, research, innovation, outreach, and governance are the 5 buckets, and that has always been so those will be the 5 proposals, and each of those 5 proposals will have one or more with treasury withdrawals that are associated with each proposal. Sort of famously, the MCC has a community grants treasury withdrawal action, and Catalyst has a separate treasury withdrawal action as the example we use, so that we can see that that the DREPs can approve both the budget, the headroom there. Right now, we're looking at a budget of roughly 200 million ADA, and the net change limit is 350 million ADA. So there's roughly 150 million in there for alternative proposals and or addendums, amendments, etc. Which is, we always aim to be about 80% of the net change limit at most, because the things that we're covering, do cover core Cardano development. So we're trying to stay at that or below that, and we have definitely succeeded in staying below that for this year. So there's the ideal is there's always headroom for alternative and additional budgets every year. So yeah, in general, the way that info actions are, they're yes, no question. So DREPs can either approve that info action as it stands or not. So the time prior to that is the off-chain process that's called out of the Constitution. So that's what we're doing starting next week, is we're starting the off-chain discussion to get to a info action that the DREPs are willing to vote yes for. So that is what next week is all about, is starting next week is what it's all about. As far as the second governance proposal for increasing the change limit, yes, the net change limit has language that says it's in effect until it is superseded by another net change limit. This allows us to do a couple of things. We can say that this year is 350 million ADA, and then I could put in a net change limit next week and say next year's net change limit is 400 million ADA. Or at any point in time, DREPs could put in a new one that says we want the net change limit to be 200 million ADA, and that's it. And they can agree to that at any time. So that can happen. The only thing you have to take into account is if you've already approved budgets, then your net change limit needfully has to allow for you to spend what's already there until it has been spent. But then everything else that comes after that would fall under the new net change limit. So if there are any other questions, or if any of those weren't clear, I'm happy to try to make any clarifications needed.
Basically, if the budget is already approved up under a previously higher net change limit, you can't approve a net change limit that is lower than the budget that's already been approved. So the DREPs could essentially put forth that based on previously approved budgets, nothing more than what's already approved would go through. But if they needed to expand that at all, they could do that however large or short they wanted to, as long as that number is above the previously approved budgets.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It is a matter of what the it's that combination of an approval of the when the budget's approved, it's approved with this existing net change limit. So if I want to put in a net change limit that's lower than the current one, then it can start at a future date. So like it could start either after after this budget is completed, say, or it can say, henceforth, any new budget that's approved has to fall under this net change limit. And what that will do, the only thing that would still be a problem there is if we had approved a multi-year budget, which we've never done yet, and we're not doing this year. But if we approved a multi-year budget, the DREPs would have to approve a net change limit that would allow for whatever things we'd already agreed to pay, and then whatever they want on top of that. So if there were, say, 70 million ADA of future things for 2027, that would have to be accounted for. So if they wanted a net change limit of 200 million, they could either do 270 or they could do 200, and then they'd only have 130 left. And yes, if a later budget tries to come out that that is higher than the current net change limit, the answer would be no. It would be unconstitutional. That's exactly it. So that's why it's a safety net to keep us from overspending, but it's also it also does require us to watch how we approve budgets and how we spend those budgets. That's why we're trying to stay under the net change limit and not run right up to it, so we don't have those added complications.
Yeah, I'd say that's a lot of the same ethos that we saw last year, Tom, is looking at how things play out in practice, and some of that is definitely carrying over into this year, and especially now with governance in the hands of the community there. So,
yep, that's ultimately what it is. I've tried to say, like, we need to have grace with one another and caution and care to get through this. As long as we're communicating, as long as we're working together, I think we can overcome whatever we need to overcome and continue to develop Cardano and continue moving in the right direction. What I universally see at the events that I go to, at the convention, is that everybody that's there is just focused on doing what they think is the next right thing for Cardano. And the more that the more of us act that way, the more unstoppable I think we become. I really do think we get there because we're bringing that mentality to the table of doing the next right thing, each of us, as we move forward. So on that note, if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we can go ahead and shut down for the day. So I'll give it just another minute here if you guys have any further questions.
I don't actually have a question. I would just like to say thanks for being here. I appreciate getting to learn and getting to hear you guys speak and understanding a little bit more about how you operate things and how you like to deal with your community. This is the first time I've been able to attend one of these, so I appreciate it.
Fantastic, Donnie. Thank you so much for attending. I'm glad you were able to see us today and that you were able to have the time. I always say our attention is our most precious resource, so I appreciate you giving us a little bit of your attention today. Same goes for everybody else that joined us. Thank you all for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye now.